Part 5 of the New Earth, a sci-fi version. Chaos, a prerequisite for change. So what makes chaos a prerequisite for change? A large majority of people are carrying on with their lives as if nothing was happening. They can easily sense the imperfections around them and to a degree the chaos in the world, but if it doesn't affect our daily lives, why would we choose to get drawn in? The answer is, for most people, you wouldn't. If you're able to function and maybe even thrive, regardless of the imbalances, there is no incentive to seek change. However, change is coming. As we head towards the new Earth, whether our heads are peering over the parapet in that direction or firmly buried in the sand. Chaos is the catalyst that leaves people with no choice but to realign their reality. And how will we cope with these sudden enforced changes to our life ritual? Imagine if what we held as true for a lifetime was suddenly turned on its head. The thing to remember is that while many of these influences may appear unwanted, everything serves a purpose. All is as it should be. This time has been prophesied for thousands of years, when a 26,000-year cycle ends and a new cycle begins. Moving from materialistic, controlling, secretive Piscean age into the age of Aquarius, a time steeped in heart-based consciousness, where the me focus of the Piscean age becomes the we of the new Earth. It is the age of the golden race, heralding, amongst many other wonderful things, 1,000 years of peace. Now that sounds worth stepping into, doesn't it? So, as we head towards the new Earth, and as I share the following potential outcomes with you, it's important to realize that we each have a choice as to how we respond as events unfold. It would be very easy to get drawn into the drama, and we're encouraged to do so by the mainstream media and many other influencers. But to do so will not serve us. If the unfolding drama promotes fear in you, you are feeding the negative energy and unwittingly drawing the problem towards you. On the other hand, if you approach this from a place of understanding, that regardless of how things appear, it really is as it should be, then you can respond from a place of neutrality. While the veil of forgetfulness means we are not consciously aware of it, this time of change is the journey we signed up for before we incarnated. We greatly desired to be here during this time on the planet. We wanted to test ourselves and experience a fantastic opportunity for soul growth. And of course, always be mindful that we are immortal beings having a human experience. So regardless of whatever happens, we do not die. Our soul essence lives on, even when our physical body does not. And death is the most fantastic experience you will ever have in your life. And that statement comes with the usual money-back guarantee. We will each have a directional decision to make as the years unfold. There are only two choices, the dark or the light. Neither choice is wrong, because it all depends where you are in your spiritual development. The decision you make will be the one that best serves your spiritual evolution. So whichever you choose is the right choice for you. There will be a growing schism between the light and the dark in the years ahead, and there will come a point where you can no longer have a foot in each camp. Imagine you are straddling a steadily widening fault line on the Earth. There comes a time when you have to commit to one side or the other. It is fair to say that the last few years have brought relative chaos in our world. Interestingly, COVID-19 was foretold by many, including Nostradamus and through the work of Dolores Cannon. They both also accurately predicted the 9/11 events. COVID-19 was an exercise in control and manipulation. It is highly likely to be repeated several times in the coming years, using fear and division as weapons of choice. It can be seen how easy it is to turn man against their fellow man. Simply create unwarranted fear through the media and set stringent rules to limit freedom. Those that buy into the fear narrative will get very angry at those who see through the manipulation and call it out for what it is. Fear can also escalate to hatred, and that can escalate to violence. To add to these man-made changes, a continuing escalation of natural disasters is likely too. The universal law of cause and effect tells us every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If you think of Gaia, Mother Earth, as one side of that equation and the self-centered actions of mankind on the other, we can easily conclude that we are heavily overdrawn on the side of cause. The rebalancing of that overdrawn effect position will be seen in natural disasters, although in their own way, these two are man-made. Everything always comes back to equilibrium, so given the extent of damage to our planetary home, hang on to your hats. At this point, I'm going to call on the experience of those who have had the opportunity to explore the potential future outcomes for the years ahead. One of these is Gary Wimmer, you may recall from our recent interview. This is an extract from his excellent book, A Second in Eternity, available through Amazon. As you may recall, in 1977, Gary died and went on a magnificent journey to a destination he describes as infinite mind. But then he returned to his body, and while journeying back from the infinite, he was shown glimpses of the future for humankind. Here's a direct quote from Gary's book. I collapsed through the outer planets and numerous images began appearing. But unlike before, these images referred to long spans of time in the future. These images sped into view and abruptly stopped, just long enough for me to gather some fragments of information, then raced past me as other images rushed into view. They appeared somewhat like those spinning newspapers seen in old movies, newspapers that would stop just long enough for one to read the headlines or understand the image, then spin away. It seemed like I was being drawn towards an inner planet. The planet felt familiar, and I became aware of a sense of self and time. Then I recognized the planet as Earth. Collapsing inwards faster and faster, I witnessed intense economic and political changes that would come into play over the next 100 years or so. I saw numerous acts of terrorism, wars, economic turmoil, changes in weather patterns, and the breaking down of all systems, social, political, economic, religious, personal, and environmental. All people and cultures would be affected by these massive changes, collectively and individually. But all was not doom and gloom. The images revealed that these challenges would usher humankind into the next level of spiritual evolution, a world of peace, sharing, compassion, love, and unity, as well as technological innovation unparalleled in human history. This would open the door to all resources being used for the good of all the people, abundant and non-polluting energy, and the exploration and colonization of our oceans and space. The images revealed that because humankind, collectively and individually, was a long way from such levels of consciousness, the transition would be intensely challenging. Still, humankind would heed the call, and we would update our systems and ourselves, minimizing to some degree the chaos inherent in the changes ahead. So that ends that particular quote. Much of what Gary saw in these visions has come to pass. Things that he regarded as highly unlikely have become reality. Over 46 years has passed since the fateful day when Gary crossed over to witness the infinite in all its glory. If we assume that Gary's vision roughly spans 100 years, we are not yet halfway there. My studies over the last 5 years align very much with Gary's vision. People whose work I greatly respect, with a proven track record in getting these things right, are all in alignment. This adds validity. We will explore this through other sources too, but before we do, I want to quote one more short passage from Gary's book. This conversation took place 4 days before his near-death experience. This was a time of sudden psychic overload and incredible insight for Gary. This ultimately led to the circumstances of his NDE. The quote is as follows. We'll see part of the big change, David. The Mayan calendar, the end times, fanatics, fans of Nostradamus, religious leaders, even scientists, they all have their own theories, but they're all describing the same thing. Mankind is about to face the most massive changes we've ever experienced, and I think it's leading us to evolve on all levels, individually and collectively. We are the second coming. As soon as I read this passage in Gary's book, I knew it to be true. It deeply resonated with me because I'd heard this from many others too. The second coming is represented by our ability to tap into our Christ consciousness within. We all have it. It is just a question of whether we choose to activate it. We are the second coming, and we are about to face massive changes. And despite the chaos, the ultimate outcome is going to be so good that it is difficult to comprehend from our current vantage point. So while on the subject of Christ consciousness, let us turn to a book by Robert Schwartz entitled Your Soul's Gift. Within this amazing book is a section where Jesus is channeled through a lady called Pamela Cribb. This is not something that Pamela sought to do, and initially she was very skeptical about what she was experiencing and felt that it was, as she put it, exceedingly unlikely and presumptuous. She also knew that it would make some people angry, but at a deeper level, she also knew this truly was Jesus, and that there was a reason she had to share these channelings, regardless of what people may choose to think. With this in mind, I ask you to set aside any skepticism for a moment. This is a New Earth science fiction story after all. If this seems somewhat ridiculous to you, simply marvel at Pamela's creativity and the seeming authenticity of these words. Jesus came to Pamela as Yeshua ben Joseph, which is his Hebrew name. And it was this channeling that awakened me, your author, to a new purpose. I recall the moment vividly. It was 2019 and I was traveling along the 91 freeway heading to visit a client in Corona, California. I was listening to The Soul's Gift on Audible while driving when the Yeshua channeling was narrated. I had the strangest feeling. It was as if Yeshua himself was addressing me right there and then. The energy around me felt very different, and his words spoke to me at the deepest level. I actually felt quite moved by the experience, and as soon as I had the opportunity, I played it back again and again. Every time I listen to that passage or read the written version, it gives me a sense of absolute knowing that this really is a message to humanity from Yeshua. The words and the sincerity of the message is deeply profound. I totally accept that others may not have the same experience. This was personal to me. But one thing I came to learn is that nothing happens by accident. It was time for me to hear this, and hear it I did. I'll end part 5 with this, as it is beautiful and uplifting. So what better way to sign off for this week? The following is just the conclusion of the channeling by Pamela. And for anyone interested in the full channeling, I am very happy to share it. Just reach out to me on JohnDrew@ElevatedPlanet.Life. And here we go. From Yeshua. At this point in history, it is time for humanity to ascend to a new level of consciousness. It is time for humans to recognize their oneness, even if they are of different races, genders, or cultural backgrounds. This time is a time of crisis and of opportunity. The crises your world faces in economic and ecology are due to a lack of heart-based awareness in these areas. Both the interactions among humans and the interaction with nature are often seen in terms of profit and personal gain. This is ego-based consciousness, and I do not judge this type of consciousness. It has served a purpose, as all expressions of consciousness do. It is now time, however, to rise above ego-based consciousness. Earth is calling out for humans to reinstate the natural harmony between all that lives on the planet. The spirit of humanity is called upon to heal old wounds that centuries of fear, struggle, and separation have caused. The crises humanity is facing are to be solved not by the inventions of the mind like new technologies, but by the awakening of the heart, one human at a time. You are alive today because your soul wants to help humanity ascend to heart-based consciousness. It is by going through your own challenges and finding the opportunity within them that you contribute the most to humanity's well-being. Your contribution is not so much what you do as who you are. It is your awareness that makes the difference. As more of you invite heart-based consciousness into your lives, it becomes easier for others to make the transition to a new way of being, at peace with themselves, humanity, and nature. I call upon you to have faith. I tell you that you are not alone. You can face your life challenges and overcome them. You can be a teacher of heart-based consciousness and reach out to others in a way that feels fulfilling and joyful. Your life has meaning, and you are needed to make your unique contribution to the larger whole of which you are part. Recognize me as your brother and next of kin. I am here to help you, but I need your help as well. Join me and let us together fulfill the old promise of a new earth.